Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Stotala Sata Shri Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Gauri Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Himsakahor Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar. Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath. Sham Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Guru. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Krishna Padaya Krishna Krishna Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Samsati Devi Guruvani Vishesha Srini Bhari Pastrata Vishakar. So Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome. We're studying tonight the Srimad Bhagvatam, Canto 7, Chapter 11, texts 26 and 27. So I'm going to read the Sanskrit, and then we'll read the word-for-word synonyms, and then we'll read the translation. There's no purport, so tonight we're going to go on to the next shloka, which has a purport, okay? And just to let you all know, we're going to be ending a little bit before 8 o'clock tonight. Okay? So let's get started. Samarjano pale pabhyam grihamandana vartanaihi swayam cha madita nityam parimrishta parichida Kamai uchavachai sadvi rashrayena damena cha bhakyai satyai priyai premna kale kale vajet patim. So we have a double verse tonight, texts 26 and 27, word for word synonyms. And you can repeat samarjana, by cleaning. Upalepabhyam, by smearing with water or other cleansing liquids. Griha, the household. Mandana, decorating. Vartanai, remaining at home and engaged in such duties. Swayam, personally. Cha, also. Mandita, finely dressed. Nityam, always. Parimrishta, cleansed. Parichida, garments and household utensils. Kamai, according to the desires of the husband. Ucha Abachai, both great and small. Sadhvi, a chaste woman. Prashrayena, with modesty. Damena, by controlling the senses. Cha, also. Vakyai, by speech. Satyai, truthful. Priyai, very pleasing. Premna, with love. Kale kale, at appropriate times. Budget, should worship. Patim, her husband. Translation. You can repeat after me. A chaste woman must dress nicely and decorate herself with golden ornaments for the pleasure of her husband. Always wearing clean and attractive garments, she should sweep and clean the household with water and other liquids so that the entire house is always pure and clean. She should collect the household paraphernalia and keep the house always aromatic with incense and flowers, and must be ready to execute the desires of her husband. Being modest and truthful, controlling her senses, and speaking in sweet words. A chaste woman should engage in the service of her husband with love, according to time and circumstances. So again, the translation is, a chaste woman must dress nicely and decorate herself with golden ornaments for the pleasure of her husband. Always wearing clean and attractive garments, she should sweep and clean the household with water and other liquids so that the entire house is always pure and clean. She should collect the household paraphernalia and keep the house always aromatic with incense and flowers, and must be ready to execute the desires of her husband, being modest and truthful, controlling her senses, and speaking in sweet words. A chaste woman should engage in the service of her husband with love, according to time and circumstances. Om Agyanatimirandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangulangayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you again, everyone, for coming. So nice to have your association. Hare Krishna. So before we go on to the next verse where there is a purport, I wanted to just make a few little comments about the translation. Let's see. Srila Prabhupada has given given us the word samarjana to mean by cleaning, upale pabhyam, by smearing with water or other cleansing liquids. So he's helping us to understand that when we clean the house, we should use water for sure, because water is the most purifying cleansing agent. It's understood in chemistry to be the topmost solvent. So when we use water, like even when we do achman, we just do 3 drops of water, and water is so purifying that just 3 drops can be effective. What to speak of using a bucket of water to clean our house. And we can also mix some cow dung in with the water, and it becomes even more purifying, because cow dung has all antiseptic properties. Then Srila Prabhupada, a little further down, he uses the word decorating to define the Sanskrit word mandana. And then a little bit farther down, the word mandita means finely dressed. So the wife is supposed to decorate the house, and she's supposed to decorate herself, all for the pleasure of the husband. Interesting too that Srila Prabhupada says Vartanai means remaining at home and engaged in such duties. So there again, we have Srila Prabhupada expressing that for a wife to go out and work, Prabhupada says, is not a good proposal. He says it's very dangerous. Not only is it dangerous because the woman can become attracted to some other man, but it's also dangerous because the husband can become dependent on his wife's income, and that is not healthy for a man. So if our husband is not understanding this, and if he pushes us out the door to become the provider for the family and for the household, that is actually not proper. So we should try to get our marriage and our family life in order so that the husband is the provider. Prabhupada says the man goes outside to work. He works outside. Man is meant for outside. Woman is meant for inside. Man is meant for working hard. Woman is meant for homely comforts. And as we have said in the past, it's not that we women don't work hard. We do. We work very hard, but we work within the protection of the home. Okay. I know that so many of you are having to go out and work, and I know that it's very difficult for you because not only are you working hard, putting on a beautiful face and trying to appear very professional in your workspace, but then when you come home, you have to again perform because you have to be the housewife, you have to clean, you have to cook, you have to take care of the children who have been without you for so many hours. And then at night, your husband wants your attentions. He wants to be your demigod. So it's extremely difficult to be a working wife. So let's keep on trying to correct that situation in each and every devotee family so that we can show the world a better and proper picture of what family life should look like. So this is interesting. Srila Prabhupada defines Parichida as garments and household utensils. So in the verse, it says that the woman is responsible for collecting the household paraphernalia. And Prabhupada is specifying that that means garments and household utensils. So in other words, she makes sure that everyone in the family has clothing to wear. And she also makes sure that there is furniture and that there are kitchen utensils, cooking utensils, and other types of necessities for the household so that the household can run smoothly. We have to be practical. So women are very good at this kind of thing because we're very good at collecting. That's one reason why we're called Stri, but also it's our responsibility because we have to focus on the details. So this is one of the details of our life is collecting the household paraphernalia. Kamai, according to the desires of the husband. I read in one place, Srila Prabhupada said that it is the duty of the wife to satisfy the desires of the husband and even to satisfy his whims. So it's not that the husband always has a really good reason for asking us to do something. It may be just something whimsical, but it is our duty to try to satisfy him even in small things. So let's be careful about that. And even the next word, ucha avachai, means both great and small. So you just see how Prabhupada is defining that she should be willing to execute the desires of her husband, be they great or small. And Sadhvi, again, he describes as a chaste woman. Okay, prashrayena, modesty, damena, controlling the senses. Prabhupada described in one place that the wife, she waits until after her husband is satisfied in eating before she eats. So in some cases, this may be possible, and in some other cases, it may not be possible. So we have to be flexible and work according to time and circumstance. And the taste of our husband. Taste meaning his mood, you know, his likes and dislikes. Satyai is truthful. Priyai, very pleasing. Of course, we know Priyai, it comes from Priya, which means very dear. Premna, with love. Now, just see, Prabhupada is using the word love, even though in so many places he says there is no love in this material world. In other places, he says there is love between husband and wife, and also between parent and child. So in this verse, it's describing how the wife serves the husband with love. Kale kale at appropriate times. So this we gradually learn. As we get to know our husband, we gradually learn what are his preferences. And we try to be always alert to make sure we satisfy his preferences. And the last two words, budget, patim. Budget means should worship, and patim, her husband. Okay, who knows what the word putty means? You can unmute yourself and say, what does the word putty mean?
Master.
It means master, but it also means something else, more specific. Does anyone know? Okay, I'll say it means protector. So she should worship her protector, her husband, who has been given to her by Krishna to act on behalf of Krishna to protect her. And there's one very important point that Srila Prabhupada makes, that you can't protect someone whom you can't control. So in the Manusmriti, it is said that a wife cannot be protected unless she allows herself to be protected. In other words, he says, Manu says that even with many servants who are, trying to protect the queen of the household, if she doesn't allow herself to be protected, then she won't be protected. It won't be successful. So we need to agree to be protected. And to agree to be protected means to agree to be controlled. So this is something that's very difficult for us in this day and age, because we're trained how to spurn control, how to resist and disobey authority, question authority, challenge authority were a couple of the slogans in the 60s and 70s. And young people would fight for their own voice to be heard. So this has filtered into married life as well. So women are very proud of their own opinions. We have a tendency to want to be heard and understood and believed. So to turn ourselves into submissive servants of our husbands who are willing to be controlled by him is a great challenge. But It's actually the only way that our husband can do his duty of protecting us. So maybe we can, discuss that in more depth and pray to Krishna to give us realizations of what this actually means to be protected. Okay, excuse me for a moment. Okay, so the next text, the next verse, text 28, reads, Santushta lolupa daksha dharmagya priya satyavak apramata shuchi snigdha patim twapatitam bhajet. Okay, santushta means always satisfied. Alolupa, without being greedy. Daksha, very expert in serving. I'm just going to read these myself. Dharmagya, fully conversant with religious principles. Priya, pleasing. Satya, truthful. Bhag, in speaking. Apramata, attentive in service to her husband. Shuchi, always clean and pure. Snigdha, affectionate. Patim, the husband. Two, but apatitam, who is not fallen, but yet should worship. Translation: a chaste woman should not be greedy, but satisfied in all circumstances. She must be very expert in handling household affairs and should be fully conversant with religious principles. She should speak pleasingly and truthfully, and should be very careful and always clean and pure. Thus, a chaste woman should engage with affection in the service of a husband who is not fallen. Purport: according to the injunction of Yajnavalkya, an authority on religious principles, Ashudhe sampratikshohi mahapataka dushitaha. One is considered contaminated by the reactions of great sinful activities when one has not been purified according to the methods of the Dashavidha Samskara. In Bhagavad Gita, however, the Lord says, Namang dushkritino mudha prapadyante Naradama. Those miscreants who do not surrender unto me are the lowest of mankind. So just see how Prabhupada is making a distinction between Yajnavalkya, who says that if a person is not purified by the 10 samskaras, then he is contaminated. He's considered to be contaminated by great sinful activities. But Srila Prabhupada says that Lord Krishna says that those who do not surrender to me are the lowest of mankind. So right there, Srila Prabhupada is giving a clear definition of who is actually fallen. He gives actually several definitions of what it means to be fallen. So let's read on. The word Naradama means non-devotee. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said, Yei bhaje sei bada abhakta hinachara. Anyone who is a devotee is sinless. Okay, so let's remember that. Anyone who is a devotee is sinless. One who is not a devotee, however, is the most fallen and condemned. It is recommended, therefore, that a chaste wife not associate with a fallen husband. A fallen husband is one who is addicted to the four principles of sinful activity, namely illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. Specifically, if one is not a soul surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is understood to be contaminated. So let's read that sentence again. Specifically, if one is not a soul surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is understood to be contaminated. Thus, a chaste woman is advised not to agree to serve such a husband. It is not that a chaste woman should be like a slave while her husband is Naradama, the lowest of men. Although the duties of a woman are different from those of a man, a chaste woman is not meant to serve a fallen husband. If her husband is fallen, it is recommended that she give up his association. Giving up the association of her husband does not mean, however, that a woman should marry again and thus indulge in prostitution. If a chaste woman unfortunately marries a husband who is fallen, she should live separately from him. Similarly, a husband can separate himself from a woman who is not chaste, according to the description of the Shastra. The conclusion is that a husband should be a pure Vaishnav, and that a woman should be a chaste wife with all the symptoms described in this regard. Then both of them will be happy and make spiritual progress in Krishna consciousness. So, did you notice? Did you catch some of those descriptions of what it means to be fallen? First of all, Krishna describes that those miscreants who do not surrender unto me are the lowest of mankind. And then Srila Prabhupada says the word Naradama means non-devotee. Then Lord Chaitanya says anyone who is a devotee is sinless. That is such a powerful statement because Srila Prabhupada, in so many places, he describes even us as devotees. Of course, in many other places, he says we are aspiring or we're trying to learn how to be devotees. So in the case of many of us, that would be more accurate. But nonetheless, Lord Chaitanya says this, that anyone who is a devotee is sinless. One who is not a devotee, however, is the most fallen and condemned. It is recommended, therefore, that a chaste wife not associate with a fallen husband. Okay, so many women ask me, okay, what is a fallen husband? Is my husband fallen? So I always just give this pat answer that it means that he's addicted to the four pillars of sinful life: meat eating, gambling, intoxication, and illicit sex. If he's addicted to these 4 pillars of sinful life, then he is fallen. And you have every right to live separately from him. But in our own Guru Parampara, we have the example of Bhishma. Bhavatarini, Prabhupada's sister, was married to an asura. And he was very cruel and unkind. Plus, he was very licentious and sinful. And nonetheless, Bhishma would serve him with dedication, and you could even say with love, because she used all her energy to keeping him satisfied. She even cooked meat for him. And one time she asked her brother, our Srila Prabhupada, if she should leave her husband because he was so cruel. And he said, no, you should stay with him and you should worship Radha Govinda, our childhood deities, and every day you should pray to them to please save your husband. So it's not that Srila Prabhupada always recommends to ladies to leave their husband. He sometimes tells them, no, you tolerate, but you pray for him. And of course, we also have the example of Srinivas and Lilavati. Purandar Das, the father of Karnataka music, used to be called Srinivas, and he was a miser and an atheist. So he would never give even his wife anything, what to speak of anyone else. He was very selfish. He was the owner of a diamond business. So he was very wealthy, but such a miser that he was well known. Or you could say he was, he suffered from ignominy. Ignominy means a bad reputation. So his wife Lilavati was a pure devotee. And she used to pray to Krishna every day. My dear Lord Krishna, please make my husband your pure devotee. So one day, Krishna came and knocked on the door. I know so many of you have heard this story, but I'm telling it in a short, quick way. So Srinivas answered the door, and he saw that it was a beggar outside. It was Krishna, but he was appearing as a beggar. So Srinivas just closed the door. He didn't even speak to the beggar. He was so rude. And then the next morning, Srinivas heard a knock on the door again. He opened the door and there was that same beggar. He said, what do you want? And the beggar said, Bhiksha, Bhiksha. So Srinivas said, go away, I don't want to see your face. And he closed the door. And this happened a couple more mornings. Then finally, one morning, Srinivas got a bright idea. So when the knock came on the door, Srinivas opened it and he took a 1 paisa coin out of his pocket and he dropped it in the man's begging bowl. And then he said, now go away, and I never want to see your face again. So then he closed the door. Then after Srinivas left to go to his shop, the beggar came back and knocked on the door. And Lilavati came to the door, and the beggar said, Mother, my son is going to have his Upanayanam ceremony, and I have no money to pay the priest or to feed the people, the guests. Can you help me? So she said, oh, dear sir, my husband is a miser. He never gives anyone anything. He never gives me anything even. So I'm sorry, I can't help you. But then she stopped and she thought, oh, wait, I have my dowry. And then she thought, oh, in fact, I have my nose ring. So she took off her nose ring and she handed it to the beggar. And she said, now you go and sell this, and whatever money you get from this, you take it and use it for your son's Upanayanam ceremony. So the beggar took the nose ring, and who knows where he went to sell the nose ring. Please unmute yourself and tell us. Where did the beggar take the nose ring to sell it?
To her, Hare Krishna Mataji, he took the nose ring and sold it, went to sell it to her husband only.
That's correct. So when Srinivas saw the nose ring, he became very angry. But he controlled his anger. He took the nose ring, he gave the money to the beggar, and the beggar walked out. So then Srinivas put the nose ring into a locker. He locked it. He took the key. He went out of his shop. He locked the shop and took the key. Then he ran home. Lilavati, Lilavati, where is your nose ring? And she thought, oh no, oh Krishna, what shall I do? He will kill me. I think I better take poison. So she had kept a little vial of poison for emergencies such as this. So she put some poison on her palm and she started to bring it up to her mouth. And then suddenly, ding, something appeared on her palm. Do you know what it was? Who can say?
The nose ring.
That's right, Srilekha. Her nose ring appeared on her hand. So she put it on her nose and she said, I found it. And she went out and she showed her husband. And he was flabbergasted. He was amazed. So he ran back to his shop. He opened the door. He went behind the counter, opened the safe. And what was inside the locker? Who can tell? Who can tell?
An air.
That's right. That's right. Only air. Nothing else inside. Hare Krishna. Oh, that was you, Vaishnav Shruti. So,
Yes, Mataji.
because you've heard the story so many times.
Yes, Mataji.
So then Srinivas became a pure devotee of Krishna because he understood, oh, this was Krishna playing tricks on me. So from that day forward, he dedicated his life to composing beautiful poetry and songs for the glorification of Lord Krishna. So not everyone is recommended to leave a fallen husband. We have the choice to continue. And if we're married to a Vaishnava, even if he is not a pure Vaishnava, if he's if he has some weaknesses, and that's okay, that's his department, that's his business. And we should be careful not to give our husband too much advice. If he asks us for advice, that's okay to give it, but we should always let him have the final say, and we should help him to feel that whatever conclusion he comes to is his own idea. So these are very important principles to remember. Don't give too much advice and make him feel that he is the one who came up with the good idea, okay, which you were advising him already, but he forgot that you gave him that good advice, and now he thinks it was his idea. That's okay. All right, this is a typical psychology of males, is that they have to be the one who comes up with the smart idea. So we should know that, and we should respect that, okay? Even though it's kind of amusing. Okay, so now I'm assuming everyone finished reading the chapter called The Ideal Woman in Fascinating Womanhood. I have to admit that I did not finish, but I've already read it probably hundreds of times, so I kind of skimmed over the last few pages. So this week, we're going to read Introduction to Understanding Men and Chapter 3, Accept Him. Accept Him at face value. Now, unfortunately, these chapters are a little long. I apologize for that, but let's try our very best to read the full chapter. And the assignment at the end of this previous chapter that we just read this week has two parts. Number one, in becoming the ideal woman, you are not starting from zero. Take a good look at yourself and you'll find things to appreciate. Write down 25 things you like about yourself. So this might be good, especially for some of us who suffer from low self-esteem. Perhaps we've been abused in some way during our life, and that lowers our self-esteem. So this is a good exercise to do to build up our confidence and our belief in ourselves. So you can try doing that. Also, number 2 says, make an angelic human chart. Mark with pink pen qualities that you have. Mark with a blue pen qualities that you lack. Take one quality that you lack and work on it this week. Notice your husband's favorable reaction. Okay, so personally, I have done this in the past. I still have my angelic human chart, and every once in a while I glance at it. So this is also a good little exercise to do to kind of assess where we're at as far as our progress in becoming a chaste woman and very pleasing to our husband. Okay, so we're going to end there today. Thank you everyone for coming to the class, tuning in. I especially thank all of you who are in different time zones, because it may be inconvenient for you to tune in so early on a Saturday morning, if that's your case. So we really appreciate your sacrifice and your association. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.